So let's have a chat. What is experimental words, Sam?
It's a very good question, Dan. If I was to describe experimental words in a
If it was an animal.
overly as an animal,
Yeah.
well, as an animal, it would probably be a zebra, right? Because
Ah.
it's throwing shades of dark and light at the same time.
That's nice. That's pretty good. Is science the light and poetry the shade?
Basically, science is the white horse over which poetry has drawn a series of black lines to make it into a zebra.
I really love that. Why isn't that in our poem? Maybe it will be. Maybe it will be. That's really cool. Well, I mean, I think what came first, poetry or science?
Well, I think they came together, right? I mean, I guess joking aside, like part of the reason we do our work, isn't it, is that we're trying to break down this straw man argument of what's better, science or poetry. And I know that we always had that as an initial discussion of which is better, well, science, well, poetry, like knowing that actually there isn't a better argument, but that some people do have an opinion that one is better than the other. So I guess it's just a way with experimental words, isn't it, of trying to demonstrate, look, we're not saying that one methodology, one epistemology, one ontology, one way of looking at the world is better than the other. We're just saying that they're different and that they're complementary, and that we want to try and get people out of silos and instead working together as ways of exploring the world in which they live.
Yeah, when people ask me about this project and the sort of reasoning for the work, I always say sort of that poets and scientists are the same. They kind of look at the world, want to understand it better. And there's like a lot, it's breaking something apart and putting it back together in a new and innovative, interesting way. And, you know, for science, that's to kind of understand the fundamentals a little more and then apply that into the real world in some way. And that's exactly the same for poetry. It's breaking it apart, putting it back together and sharing it back. It's about that communication of it too.
Absolutely. And I find as well, I think one of the benefits of the project is, you know, we've done this before, but working with scientists and poets, so many of the scientists are like, oh man, you know, I wish I had the opportunity to write more poetry or do my writing, or I'm also interested in this. And so many of the poets are like, I was really great at science at school, but then wasn't allowed to, or wasn't able to, or wasn't encouraged to carry it forward.
Yeah.
And so I think this gives people an opportunity to like look into the lived experiences of each other and, you know, experience being a scientist or being a poet, because to be a poet, you'd have to have a winning Pulitzer winning prize. You just have to write a poem, right? And to be a scientist, you don't have to have a peer-reviewed journal paper or a Nobel Prize. You have to have gone out into your garden, counted a few insects, and, you know, thought to yourself, why are there more cars out in my drive today versus yesterday? That's being a scientist, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's being a poet.
And we're all, you know, creative, and we're all scientists on our everyday life because we're looking at the world and trying to take it in and understand it for ourselves. And yeah, like you say, making those sort of more scientific analysis type judgments is a human experience that we do every single day of the week. We're mathematicians when we cross the road. We're physicists when we catch a ball. And, you know, we're poets when we put together a sentence that we say, this sentence I'm saying to you right now has never been uttered in the course of human history, giraffes. So it's like, that's a brand new sentence. That's a poem. And it's like, yeah, we do it. It's innate. All right. I think that,
and I think it's about, I think just one last thing. I guess one last thing. I guess one of the biggest benefits of the project as well is we wanted to create something that other people could experience, because by listening to the spoken word tracks, like not only do they hear about those collaborations, those different ways of understanding, but it also gives them permission that they themselves might think about different ways of trying to comprehend the universe without wanting to sound too grandiose.
So we want to change people's entire view of the cosmos. Cool. That's what went into the Arts Council application. So what's our evaluation criteria for people's fundamental shift in perspective of what life means? How do we measure that? Says the poet.
Basically, how many religions have started as a result of this project? That's the
yeah, that's good. We'll measure that in a couple of years. Awesome.